Okay, I want to talk about today the term or the phrase, the name, Yahweh Nissi. I have to say it was one I was unaware of, but when it was brought to my attention, I just thought, yep, that is so true. That is so true. And as I speak to you, I'm speaking to myself as well. Yahweh Nissi is mentioned only once in the Bible, and so many other things you think, oh, well, that's repeated. Do not fear is repeated 365 times. So there's one for me for every day of the year. And for you, do not fear. And others are mentioned not quite as frequently, but this one is only mentioned once, but I do not think, therefore, it should be dismissed. It is actually something that I think we need to take on board. And we've done a bit about the names of God in various ways. Some of them are more obvious and more common. Yeah, we know about that. We've heard it in songs and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure whether Yahweh Nissi is actually brought to our attention when we're thinking of the names of God. From Exodus 17, verse 15, Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nissi, which means the Lord is my banner. I'm now going to just take us back before verse 15 to give us context for this. Starting at verse 8. While the people of Israel were still at Rephidim, the warriors Amalek attacked them. Moses commanded Joshua, "Choose some men to go out and fight the army of Amalek for us. Tomorrow I will stand at the top of the hill, holding the staff of God in my hand." So Joshua did what Moses had commanded and fought the army of Amalek. Meanwhile, Moses, Aaron and Hur climbed to the top of a nearby hill. The Israelites had the advantage as long as Moses held up the staff in his hand. But whenever he dropped his hand, the Amalekites gained the advantage. Moses' arms soon became tired, so he could no longer hold them up. So Aaron and Hur found a stone for him to sit on. Then they stood on each side of Moses, holding up his hands. So his hands held steady until sunset. As a result, Joshua overwhelmed the army of Amalek in battle. After the victory, the Lord instructed Moses, "Write this down on a scroll as a permanent reminder and read it aloud to Joshua. I will erase the memory of Amalek from under heaven." Moses built an altar there and named it Yahweh Nissi, which means the Lord is my banner. So here is the key verse. But with that context of having to fight and it requiring Moses to be standing there with his arms up with his staff, and every time the arms came down, the battle was going against the Israelites. I want to first of all talk a bit about banners. There's a couple of banners. We can talk about sort of the banner of, football where people run through it, but it's also, it has other context to it. There's a long history of banners. So ancient armies would carry banners when they marched into battle. These banners served as markers of identity and symbols that encapsulated the ideals of a nation of people. So you knew as the people were coming in, or the army was coming in or whatever, who was coming to you. So none of this creep and stealth. It's like, let's come over the hill with all trumpets going and banners going. They were lifted to a height where we could see them as a reminder. They symbolised security, hope and freedom. In ancient times, these banners could be seen from a far distance, and they served as a rallying point for troops before a battle. With those banners came protection by coming under the banner, and protection, support, backup, privileges. Now, I've got there a couple of pictures, one of just something from, the Crusades or something. The top one is from Japanese background, just to highlight how this is sort of through the world. It wasn't just Asian countries, it wasn't just Western countries. I want to just focus a little bit more on the Japanese side, only because I know a little bit more about it. Some of the history. With these, the Japanese, they would have their banners, and on the banners would be quite often things called, in Japanese, they're called mon, which are symbols. They're signs, they're insignias to represent the either the clan you're fighting or the clan that you belong to. It's got samurai context in there as well. And they used to be very important in that each clan had a family crest of its own, and they would display this on war flags, their armour, their helmets, their swords, their kimonos, their roof tiles, their curtains, and even on the sidelines of the tatami flooring. The tatami flooring is the tatami mats. It would be the floors of within Japanese homes. You take your shoes off, they're made of bamboo and straw, and they would sit on that, they would sleep on it, and these mats can actually be sort of lifted out and replaced and whatever. That's what tatami mats are. Most of the family crests had different colours that influenced the colour choice of the samurai armours. Initially, only the samurai clans would have these family crests. But during the late Edo period, which is about the time of sort of before late 1800s, almost every large family had a family crest of their own. If you drive a Mitsubishi car, that Mitsubishi sign was and is the mon, the family crest of that family, the Mitsubishi family. So now you're driving around with that on your car. Just side issue there. But this would be also worn on the left and the right-hand sides of their kimono. So the kimono is sort of like a wraparound thing, but the mon would be visibly seen on your kimono, male or female. And these mons would include things that would be considered special to the family, whether it was flowers, whether it was trees, whether it was representation. Some of them can have like Japanese characters sort of formulated into it, and that might be a character that represents strength or peace or whatever. So certainly to the Japanese, these family crests, these signs, these banners were incredibly important. And if you belong to a particular family, it would be on your outfits and it would be on your tatami mats, as I said, and all this sort of thing. You would be wearing this. This would be noticeable to anyone and everyone. So starting from when they were doing the battles, as you can see on the horseback, etc. Nowadays they're not doing that, but it's on their outfits. I want to take that attitude, though, and bring it back to God. Based on what Gary was saying last week, if we are Christians, if we come under the banner, the covering of God, by grace we have been redeemed. Privilege comes with that. Jesus has died. We are kings and queens or princes and princesses. We are daughters and sons of God. We are not grandchildren. We are actually sons and daughters. We come under that inheritance. We are registered in heaven. We can step in to where God's calling us with great authority. And with that, like it did in the old times of the protection and the support and the backup, we get that as we come under the banner of God. And something else I want to point out here was that Moses was not standing up there on the top of the hill by himself. He had two others with him. He had Aaron and Ur. And he could not hold his hands up for that length of time by himself, but he could with the assistance of others. I think that is something we need to also be taking. As much as we step into the authority of God, we come under God's banner, and we can do things with his strength and with his presence and with his love and grace, and we are redeemed, we have a place in heaven. We're actually also made for community. Some of us like community with lots of people. We'll share our stories with lots of people and we'll shed tears or laugh or bare our inner soul to a lot of people. Others prefer just a select few. One is not worse, one is not better than another. What is important is that you actually share with at least one or two others. I'll come back to that in a little while. There was a chorus when I was growing up, was his banner over me is love, which again, you'll be pleased to know I'm not going to launch into song for you. This is just verse 1. It's actually about the banner over me is love. According to Maslow's theories of hierarchy of needs and whatever, love is one of those. How powerful is it? How much stronger can we step forward if we know we are loved? If you've ever had those moments where you think no one loves me, everyone hates me, I'm going to go and eat worms and that sort of thing, you can think that, but God's love never leaves you. It doesn't matter what you do, where you go, God's love is there for you. We should be able to step out with confidence. So I might have had an argument with family members, or I don't like work and stuff that's happening or whatever, but I can step out knowing that God is constant. God's love for me is constant. As I was thinking about this sermon, Raise a Hallelujah was playing in my car recently, and this is a song that I have belted out in the car when I'm by myself and the windows are up, when I have felt that there are more battles than blessings, or I can't see the blessings because the battles are coming on thick and fast. But again, the second bottom line, heaven comes to fight for me. And this is a song about praising God, which just seems really weird. When I'm down, when I'm out, when I'm sad, when I'm lonely, when no one loves me and I'm going to go and eat worms, why do I want to praise God? But I've got to. I've also got to remind myself that God is there and God is love, and He is always there. So others might not be there for me and I'm disappointed and I'm feeling sad and lost and lonely, but God is there. And when I have my battles, when we all have our battles, we have to sing. We've got to praise and worship God. And maybe sing a little louder to drown out those little voices that are coming in saying, I'm not good enough, you're not worth it. Really? Do you think you should do that? Yeah, that was a big mistake. Oh my goodness, that was disappointing. Sing. Sing louder. When you're singing, or when I'm singing, maybe this is just me, when I'm singing, those sorts of thoughts can't be in here. And I don't know if it works or not, but maybe it's just psychologically it helps me. If I sing loud, then I'm also just sort of singing in the face of the evil one, as if I'm going to stand here strong, and these battles are not going to get me down. And when I start to get like that, I'm thinking, hang on, I've got these battles because maybe I'm where God actually wants me to be, and the evil one doesn't want me here, because if I just go away and I stop doing what I'm doing, then the evil one gets a big tick, and I'm not actually able to step into what God's calling me to do. And I don't know, I've got a bit of an attitude about me probably, which I know brings me undone many, many times, but it's not quite no one's going to tell me what to do, but it's that attitude of I'm a bit of a fighter. And if I'm actually meant to be somewhere and, someone's trying to tell me, no, go away, you're not meant to be here or whatever, really, you're that good? It's like, actually, I'm going to fake it till I make it because I'm meant to be here. Don't you tell me what to do concept. And I know it gets me into trouble, but I take that attitude on with the evil one. Because I do reach a point where I'm sick and tired of being told, you're not good enough, you're in the wrong place, you're doing the wrong thing, you made big mistakes. Past mistakes come flooding over and I'm not appreciating what I've got here. And I've just got to keep pushing forward and saying, somehow my family is upright and breathing despite of me. Okay, so there's got to be a God because my kids are upright and breathing. Okay, my marriage is still going. It's all glory to God. Like, really, there are many times when I think it's not up to me. It's by the grace of God that I'm still married, we've got kids, and we keep going. And it's not quite bring on the battle, because you have to be careful what you say, but just quietly, I am going to remain where I'm meant to be, and no one's going to tell me other than God. And obviously God speaking through others. So don't think I'm going to ignore your words, but you've got to go and test it. Stand strong where you believe God has called you to be, because his banner is over you. So, I'm coming down towards the end, because I just want to ask you, what is your Yahweh Nissi? What is the banner that is over you? We are quite happy to go to sporting games and wear the colours of our team. You see the team at the beginning of the game run through banners. There's obviously a banner thing that maybe you run through as you come to the end of a race. But we're happy to wear our sporting colours. I believe, I've just heard on the grapevine that there's been a bit of tension in the last fortnight with regard to Taylor Swift tickets. And I know that when those concerts come here, that there will be people turning up with their Taylor Swift T-shirts on. They're standing there, they're proud, they're pleased. They're going to be singing her songs before they even get there. I've been on trains and trams, especially in Melbourne, after a footy game, when the team has won. And there are people there wearing their Guernseys. They're half-tanked and they're singing away at the top of their voice, but they're proud. They're loud and proud about their team and their team having won. How are we when it comes to God? Please don't be half-tanked about this. That's not what I'm meaning. And maybe it's a bit of Dutch courage. But I, for one, am not like that. To be out there wearing the Jesus T-shirts, like, that's not me. And I'm not, so therefore I'm not encouraging you to have to go and do it, unless that's you. But what is our Yahweh Nissi? And therefore, what are we doing with that? What are we doing with that authority? What are we doing with that covering? Is your mon, your family crest, based on family, work, finances? Are those the sorts of things that are important to you? Like Moses was sharing, we've got to give it all to God. We've got to let go. It's not a matter of, right, God, you can have my family, but I'll work on the finances. Or, you can have my job, but I'll look after my family, or something else. It is amazing. It is amazing when you let go of everything. And again, I've got this continually to let go of various things. Or it's like I give it to God, but then I quietly take it back, and maybe sometimes not so quietly. So I've got actually one of our grandson, he's now at a point where he'll give me a toy, which is lovely, but then the hand goes back out as if I've got to give it back, because if I walked away with it, I'm sure there'd be tears. So it's sort of that sort of thing. Maybe are we like that with God? We say, yes, you can have all aspects of my life, but then I'll just take that back, because God, you're really not dealing with my job or looking after my family the way I think you should, so I'll do this sort of thing. But I do know at times when I do let go and I think I'm actually forsaking, I'm going to, I'm laying down my family, for example, and I'm really trusting you. And if relationships, distance or long, don't mend, well, I'm going to have to wear that, because God, I want to put you first. But in letting go and allowing God to deal with it, relationships actually come back. They build. Or there's opportunities of healing. If the job isn't going quite as well, and I'm going to God, you've got the job, I could get the sack for this or whatever, but somehow favour comes your way. Or maybe you do get the sack, but you manage to step into something bigger and better, whatever God's calling you to do. So is our banner family, work, finances, and anything else that's in your life? Or is it love and grace? Is it the idea that I am God's? Jesus is Lord and Lord of all. And I would like to think if we all approach our daily life in that format with love and grace, because if we are receiving love and grace from God, we are expected to give it out to others. So we can't be that story, that parable, where I'm going to point to you about the stick in your eye and I've got a great whopping log in mine. Grace and love.